Cafe and Meow!
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That's the sound I make when I stub my foot. Meow! Like a cat. Cats. It's Mike.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to episode 2486, 2486. It's Mike's Daily Podcast. And if you haven't heard this before, this is how the show is. If you asked, it's this kind of show where I bring you interesting things and we talk about stuff you didn't know. And we hang out at a cafe. A cafe anyway. Somewhere in Podcaster Valley where it's very hot.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Let's see. I think the current temperature must be in the 90s at this point.
Mike's
The problem with
Daily
discerning
Podcast.
the weather
Yeah!
in Castro Valley is that it's usually wrong. The weather is not the temperature is not what they say it is. They're pulling the temperatures from Oakland. So instead you need to go to Dublin, California and there it's always hot. Like now it's 96. So we're somewhere between what they're saying now is 85. We're somewhere between 85 and 96. Although we could get up to 96. We could be around there. But I don't understand why they always get that wrong. Always get that wrong. So I thought I'd share that with you. And that I today was on the radio, on local radio, and I discussed a little bit about what my mom went through earlier this year when I lost her. And the fact of the matter is I've got a bunch of medical records that I can't make heads or tails out of. I get some of the stuff I'm reading. But a lot of it, I don't know. A lot of it, my mom didn't tell me. And I didn't even know she was in the hospital when she passed. So we discussed a lot of...
And here's today's podcast picture.
And it was weird being on live radio. I spent a huge chunk of my radio career live on the radio, but I haven't done it in a while. I've been doing this podcast, which I do live to tape. But the podcast picture is going to be... let's go with something maybe a year or 2 years ago. We'll go back in time a little bit to a year or so ago, but this time of year we'll go back. This day in history, we'll go back in time. But yeah, it's bizarre to actually be on the radio. I'm so used to being behind the scenes. Oh, the late great Basil the Boxer. Yes, when it got hot like this, we just had to stay home until it cooled off. You don't take a boxer outside in the heat. It's just too much for them. They have a hard time cooling down because of their really truncated faces, their shorter faces, their shorter snoots. So just something to remember. But yes, I was on the radio talking about my mom. It's a radio show about blood, your cardiovascular system, how it gets around in your body. And it is a big problem. It affects a lot of people in this country. People dealing with cardiovascular type issues and vascular problems, the blood getting to everywhere it needs to be in the body. And people get all kinds of limb issues where the stuff happens and they end up having to get a leg amputated, which happened to my mom. And this organization talks about that. They do a radio show, a live radio show that you can call into on one of the radio stations that I work for. So I was doing the producing, pressing the buttons, engineering it, making sure their voices were being heard on the radio and playing the music that goes out of their show and back into it and all of that technical, logistical stuff. But they said, hey, Mike, because they had known about what happened to me, and they said, hey, do you want to talk for a little bit about it? So I don't know. Maybe it helped. Maybe it didn't. It was interesting. Oh, wow. Jarrell Neme. There's a guy I know who's been on the show a couple times, Jarrell Neme. has so much equipment in his little office, and he's got his little gamer chair. He moved from the Bay Area to Tampa Bay. A lot of people moving to Florida, which my mom did. Oh, almost 20 years. Was it 20 years ago? Yeah, I'd say 20 years ago. So today I'm getting gasoline as I'm coming back from, and then having to work on a Saturday is not my piece of cake, my piece of joy, whatever. It doesn't bring me peace on a Saturday. But I did work, and because somebody was out for the Labor Day weekend. So I, in fact, had to do more labor. And I came to Fremont, and as I'm coming back to Podcastro Valley, there's this gas station on Mission that's got gas that's under $5, which is unheard of in California. So I stopped to get gas, and it's usually super crowded, but not too many people. And there's this a guy who's washing his windows, and the lady behind him honks her horn and says, "Seriously? You're finished pumping your gas and you're just going to sit there and do your windows?" Now, when I'm pumping gas, I do the windows, but I do it simultaneously. So by the time I'm done with the windows, I don't do all the windows at once, but because usually the gas is done by the time I get like either the front window's done or the back window's done, and then the gas is done pumping, and so I leave the other to the next time I'm going through a gas station. But this guy was doing all of his windows. He had already pumped his gas, and she's just sitting there waiting in the hot, I guess this is in Union City. So in the hot Union City sun, and she's waiting, and she's like, "Seriously?" And finally the guy drives off, and she's just fuming. And I look around, and there's no other cars. And I go, "Well, now it's empty." And she goes, "Could you believe that guy?" I'm like, "Really? You're just going to spend all day washing your windows when we've all got..." He could have just left. Gas station rage. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Anyway,
the last place on earth. Now, if you're over in England or the United Kingdom, bills are set to rise in October due to the expected increase in the energy price cap. According to market research, the average household in England, Scotland, and Wales is expected to spend more than £4,000 a year on energy from January of next year. And they have their energy organization is Ofgem, OFGEM, has announced that the price cap will be adjusted every 3 months rather than 6, meaning more increases for customers. Ay. Now, are we going to have that in the U.S.? I hope not. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's here. The cafe anyway. Right now, outside in the sweltering heat. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Oh my gosh, that's great. You were on the radio, Mike Matthews. Well, I've been on the radio a lot of times. That's why I do that Mike Matthews flashback thing. Wait, that's called Flashback with Matthews. I never heard of it. Mike Matthews, that's great. So, what's it like being on the radio? Well, you're talking and people are hearing you. So that's kind of interesting. I gotta go. I'm gonna sell some more. I'm gonna sell some more snow globes. That's it. The other thing in radio is you gotta try and figure out what you're talking about before you talk about it, and then you gotta talk about it, and then you have to say it in a sensible way. Actors and crew have alleged on-set abuse by the Nickelodeon TV show creator Dan Schneider. Wow. A writer claimed Schneider told her that women weren't funny and asked her to name one funny woman, while another alleged that he didn't like having female writers in the writing room. Wow. A new investigation, this is from BuzzFeed.com, but a new investigation from Insider.com Cast and crew members who worked with the TV show creator Dan Schneider have alleged that his sets were disgusting, toxic, and hostile. This was going on at Nickelodeon, of all places. The report comes shortly after the release of Janae McCurdy's personal memoir. In the memoir, McCurdy chronicles moments from her time on iCarly, which was a Schneider-created show, where someone called the creator massaged her shoulders, made her wear a bikini, and forced her to drink alcohol, all while she was underage. He created shows like The Amanda Show, All That, Drake and Josh, and Victorious in the 90s, all those big shows. So that is coming out on BuzzFeed. I don't know too much about, I didn't watch Nickelodeon too much in the 90s, but I know it was a big thing, and a lot of people were into it at the time. And that's all I have for that part. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, wow, that's fascinating that you were talking about cardiovascular stuff. Yes. Believe me, that is something you don't want to, you want to keep an eye on. You don't want that to lag. You don't want that to go out of whack, I guess is what I'm trying to say, as best you can. Let's go back with the flashback math. What is this segment called? Flashback with Matthews. That's not the best title. Okay, we're going to go back, though, to Back with Math. Let's go back with Math. Use. I like that one. We'll stick with that one. We're going back to when I was on the radio on a country station back in, wow, almost 20 years ago. And here's what I sounded like.
Group of people to put on the radio right now. You're nuts.
Well, thank you.
We love the nuts of the world. What do you hate most about computers, Julie?
The fact that I don't understand them?
Yeah. But I like computers today better than I did back in the 80s. Those computers sucked.
Well, yeah. Well, I was a munchkin back in the 80s, so I don't know.
We're going into the basement to see the Brewmaster because Ozzy loves the Brewmaster. Isn't that right, Ozzy?
Yes, I do.
Hi there, Ozzy. Hello there, Matt and Julie. I'm making Thai root beer. I make a root beer for a computer that you can pour it on top of the computer like this. I'm going to show you right now. I'm pouring it on. And now, I got electrocuted. Oh, that hurt bad. Mother dog. Anyway, I think Julie is really nice, man. Oh, boy.
Thank you. You too.
A new, more powerful V8 engine.
Wow. That was in the just past the 90s in 2003. And there's the Brewmaster, what he used to sound like. He sounds a little different now. All right, you know what it is? Now here's another segment. This is the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. We just enjoyed Let's Go Back with Matthews, and now we're going to hear a new song. Two new songs. They're going to fight it out in the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. Okay, the first song is by a group called Surface, and they spell their name, instead of a U, they use a V. So that's Swerve. Oh, and there's no A in it. So if it's Swerve. So it's like you're spelling surface, but you're a horrible speller. And you're spelling the U as a V. I guess that's how they used to, when they chiseled engravings on Greek famous buildings and such, they used a V instead of a U. And why they don't have an A, I don't know. But this is a song called, it's called Falling. And it was horrendously loud in my ear. I don't know about yours. Okay, the piano in that kind of sounded like, do it, feel the vibration, that. It's just a good vibration. It's such a sweet sensation. All right, and now we did afternoon bike ride last time, didn't we? Oh, I didn't. Okay. Well, Daniel G. Harmon has sent me another song. Hey, as long as he sends me stuff, I'm going to play it. This is called Unspoken Ghosts. Let's play a little clip of this. All right, so which one did you like better? Surface, that spelt weird, Surface, or Daniel G. Harmon? You can call me 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast tries to be. Actually, I've been doing it. I've been doing it lately pretty much, so.
Call now, 336MM Daily.
And if you would like to find another way to reach me, for example, via email or social media, I'm found all over the place. And to reach me with more details, it is a frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.